Yesterday saw the premiere of two more episodes of Star Wars Rebels Season 4, Kindred and Crawler Commanders. I thought one of them was strong and one of them was just so-so. Let's start with Kindred. Our heroes work to recover the hidden TIE Defender hyperdrive from last week's episode. Nearby, the Empire searches for them and Thrawn sends in a specialized and talented tracker named Rukh, voiced by Rhys Davies. This is a character I've been hoping to see since Thrawn was brought into the show last year. In Star Wars Legends, Rukh was Thrawn's bodyguard and assassin, and that still sounds like it's true in canon. He's a member of the Noghri species, and it's nice to have a definitive look for them. In Legends, the Noghri's design was altered over and over again. So far, I really like his canon interpretation. He's threatening and relentless. And you know what? It's nice to see an Imperial have a little bit of plot armor, as Jai Kell reminds us he was trained at the Imperial Academy and misses every single shot he takes. Ezra and Zeb are able to get the hyperdrive back to the rebel camp, but not before Rukh hits them with a tracking device. Sabine gets to installing the hyperdrive onto the U-Wing. Last week I wondered why its design was different from the U-Wings we saw in Rogue One, but Kanan points out it's simply an older model. Kanan and Hera almost kiss again, and I thought that was about to just become a new, annoying thing that happens every episode. But before Hera leaves, it finally happens for real. That's great and all, but it does make me worry for Kanan. He's been very introspective lately, and now that he and Hera are separated, I fear that they won't be reunited. I've been strongly in favor of Kanan needing to die by the end of the series, and I think it's more likely that won't happen until the last few episodes, but Filoni and crew could really surprise us next week for the mid-season finale. Hera takes off back for Yavin 4, and by the way, those construction spheres she flies through are based on Ralph McQuarrie concept art for Return of the Jedi that was meant to be the under-construction Death Star. But back to Lothal, the rebels are attacked by the Empire, but they escape thanks to the Loth-wolves, who now all of a sudden everyone can see. I enjoyed Zeb and Ryder's exchange about it being good when things get weird, and Ryder asking how they all survived for so long. The wolves guide them all through a tunnel that turns into a hyperspace-type wormhole or something, and they all wind up safely on the other side of the planet. The wolves remind us that they have some sort of connection with Kanan, and then they just bounce. I was really hoping we'd get more answers here, a connection with Ahsoka, or at least some sort of revelation from those cave paintings, but nothing really. They just get them to safety, act ominously toward Kanan, and then leave. So I guess it's up to us to see what we can decipher from those paintings. There's art of someone coming from the sky who Ezra guesses is a Jedi. I'd say that's accurate since they seem to be carrying lightsabers and one of them even looks like Yoda. The only other painting we get a really clear shot of is what I'm guessing is the Jedi Temple on Lothal. We can see a wolf walking towards it and there's a crack down the middle, and I was kind of expecting them to follow the wolf and use the Force to open the crack, but they all just left. I really don't see any other significance in those paintings, except I guess it tells the story of the Jedi Order's arrival on Lothal. Hopefully they return to this room next week, because I refuse to believe that's all we're getting from the Loth-wolves. Even with those questions left up in the air, I really liked the episode. Rukh was a great new villain, the wolves were intriguing, and the fact that they can seemingly walk through hyperspace to teleport raises a lot of interesting questions. Unfortunately, all of that is just dropped for the second episode, Crawler Commanders. The Mining Guild is back using an ore crawler to strip resources from Lothal. The rebels need to take it so they can get access to its long-range communication and get a message out to Hera, so they do that. Meanwhile, Hera has to convince Alliance Command to attack the TIE Defender factory because the Defender Elite starfighters are way too strong for the Rebellion to handle, so she does that. Compared to Kindred, this episode was just very simple. That's not to say there weren't fun moments. Ezra's conversation with the Empire was very reminiscent of Han's awkward talk on the Death Star. Zeb's fight with the Trandoshan slaver reminded me of one of Indiana Jones's fistfights, even down to the music. I'm glad the captain of the crawler, voiced by Seth Green, was more formidable than he originally let on. But overall, I think this episode could have told the same story in about 5 minutes. The good news is, I think next week's episode, the mid-season finale titled Rebel Assault, is going to be fantastic. The whole setup reminds me of one of my favorite shows, Battlestar Galactica. In one of the best arcs of the show, a resistance group on a planet has to establish communication with their allies in space. They then launch a coordinated rescue mission, and both the ground and space battles are amazing. I hope we get something like that, and I expect we're gonna see our very first X-Wings in the show. This week, Hera delivered a rousing speech about taking a stand against the Empire, and that's great and all, but I have a feeling they're about to get their butts kicked. They might destroy the TIE Defender factory, but I think they're gonna lose a lot of pilots in the process. There needs to be a reason that the rebellion doesn't feel ready for open war in Rogue One. A major victory next week can't and should not happen. With the looming threat of Kanan's death, we could see some major loss for the Alliance. Honestly, I think it's about time. So what did you guys think of these episodes? What do you think will happen next week? And what is going on with those wolves? Let me know what you think in the comments. If you want to see my previous Star Wars Rebels Season 4 reviews, check out this playlist here. If you want to keep up with Star Wars Rebels as well as all Star Wars news and lore, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out my Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.